Good morning, everybody. It is ridiculously early in the morning and we are going eventing, and it's not even 4 a.m. yet. So we are off to Little Downham Horse Trials this morning with both Maggie and Donut. Good babies. They have their dashing snuggy hoods on. There you are, sweetheart. Good girl. And like I say, it's not even 4 a.m. yet. We're going to be leaving at 4:15. I have my first dressage test at 9 with very tight times once we have started. I think I have about 50 minutes between the two dressages, and then from then onwards it's half an hour, and that is it to get horses changed, etc. So it's going to be a busy morning, and very, very unlike me to plait the night before. Hi, you're very noisy. But needs must on this occasion. You start drawing a line when you're looking at a 2 a.m. alarm, don't you? So yeah, very exciting. Horses are plaited. Just need to make sure the bed's sorted in the lorry and get their stuff on, and we best get going. It's so dark, so dark. Let's get cracking. Go, that is one pony ready. Your plaits look okay. You're very giddy, aren't you? Okay, let's get Donut then. Morning, Amy. What do you think to this hour?
It should only happen once again.
Good girl. Right then, we are ready, aren't we, Miss Mugsy? Booties are on. We've got Donutty next door. Yes, we're not going to forget you. Don't you worry. Good boy. The yard is in a tip. I think we've got everything. Oh yeah, pop the solarium off, which is this one. I don't know what that button does. Yeah, let's get going. Oh, it's getting light now.
Another broken plate, another called off date. We never seem to get it right. Another heart attack, words that we can't take back. We are the reason opposites attract. Once you slam the door on the second floor, I regret it all. When I think it through, I can help the way I feel for you. You make me lose my mind like all the time. It still feels right. Stuck in an endless fight like every night. It still feels right. Even the worst can sting. I wouldn't change a thing, 'cause without you everything means nothing. You make me lose my mind like all the time. It still feels right. Sitting there by the phone, hoping you'll answer yours. Baby, let's talk until we're fine. You've been in bed for days, empty without me, you say. Can't you just magically turn up in mine? Then you knock on my...
We're here. I'm en route to cross-country course walk. There's fences all over the place, and the start box is over there, so I need to cross over. The ground seems really good, even despite it raining non-stop for God knows how many days. So need to figure out where I'm going, and then we'll see the course and I'll voice over it for you. Here we go, Little Downham Course Walk 2022 for the BE100 track. So through the start box we go. I've tried to video a little bit more of the course so that you guys get a better feel for it, and there was a lovely inviting chair fence for the first fence, and then we round a corner and straight into something a little bit beefier, a nice hay rack. So good to get them into the rhythm, and then a fairly pink fence, and it was curved, so I didn't know how they would take it with a slightly different profile, so I had intended to ride it quite attacking. First question, these rails, and they can't really see where they're landing afterwards, so you just need to have your shoulders back and keep your leg on approach so that they have enough time to assess. We will have them in a steadier canter, and that's me nearly falling off the bike as I cycle up a slope. And then we have this right turn to what I hadn't actually realised on course walk. It's an owl hole, but you have to look quite closely to realise it's an owl hole. But other than that, lovely profile log, but you are going from light to dark as such. You're jumping into the woods, so some horses may not like that, as it takes a while for their eyes to adjust, so it's something to be aware of. Both of mine are fairly good light to dark, but I always take note of it when I'm on the course. Then we've got this lovely gallop through the woods, and you can see the little signs to give you an idea of if you're going to need to turn off soon or the likes. Luckily for me, it was just straight on through the woods, otherwise I would have got confused. Then out of here, and we've got this lovely big, they're quite wide, probably full dimension boxes, but they're quite nice because they're white, so the horses can read them very well with their eyesight. And then we're getting our first combination of the course, so I felt it sort of eased us in nicely. We didn't have anything too technical, and then we're getting to fence 7, where we needed to angle our first fence and then jump the shoulder brush or make a curving line. If you're not sure what line to take, sometimes it's quite useful to stand behind the combination and look back and see how it lined up the best. And I think I decided I was just going to angle everything. You can see the line quite clearly from behind here. So let's go on to the next fence. We had a little bridge to gallop over, and there was quite a bit of space between fences, which was lovely. Another fairly wide, this one's a house, but you know, effectively another box, but a lovely let up fence. We then had a water complex, which had a lovely little rail on the approach, and then a little bit of space, and then we had to sort of turn right and go through this narrow bit, which is something a little bit different, quite interesting. And then we came out on the angle here with about a stride on dry land, up a slope to a slightly beefier log, and then a gallop across to a let-up fence. So I thought that was quite a question at the water, but something that would be fun to ride. Let-up fence again, fairly full dimensions and wide, but very inviting. Then needed to go fairly over to the side on the approach, because you can see as I'm biking along, I was starting to size it up. A great thing to remember when you're walking your course is that you get to walk your course, but what your first sight of the fences are is what your horse is going to be seeing, because they get to see it for the first time as they're galloping. So after that fence, there was quite a sharp turn left into the water, and then we needed to do a step out, and you can see that sharp turn, like there's not much space. And then we had, I can't quite remember, I think it was 2 strides to this big telegraph pole to jump out over, and then on the getaway we then had to go through the water again. It wasn't flagged or anything, but it was the quickest way to get to the next fence. So personally, I felt like this course had quite a big feel to it, and it was quite nice to have all of these questions and zipping about here, there and everywhere. Now we go up this big rise up the mound, nearly came off the bike yet again, and then this fairly beefy drop. It's not actually as big from the landing side, but it's got quite a slope afterwards, so it feels like you're jumping off quite a long way. And then a curving line to the B element, which is a corner. So again, another question, and you think, we've only had one let-up fence between 3 questions. So you've got to have a pretty confident horse and you've got to be on your A game to get through these one after the other. Corner's fairly inviting, but bear in mind there's string behind it, so you have to turn left fairly quick after. And again, I was just having a look at my line from behind and it looked a bit better there. Now, no let up fence, go to another combination, rise up a hill to a fence that's a bit into space, your horse can't see where you're landing, and there's quite a slope on the landing side. And then there was a choice, you could go around the back of the tree or inside the novice fence to get round to your next fences. So despite this previous fence being individually numbered, I personally felt it was very related to these next 2 fences, where you needed to set up and line yourself up straight for a 2-strided double of skinnies. So you really needed to make sure that line was good, and then your pony had seen the second part. And then a nice let-up fence. Cute tell I'm teaching at Pony Club Camp at the minute because I'm saying pony rather than horse. And then another combination. So this last minute of the course was so busy. We had so many combinations, and then we had, I think here it was 2 strides and then 2 strides, or you could do 1 long stride. The ditch was fairly wide, but the logs weren't terribly large. So then there was the last fence. So pretty pleased to get to this at this stage. Quite a question of a course, but very excited to ride around it. Right, Donut was up first in the dressage, but we had incredibly tight times, like 30 minutes apart. So we had to crack on.
I feel okay. We just made it through, and I love the way I feel for you. Baby, you make me lose my mind like all the time. It still feels right. Stuck in an endless fight like every night. It still feels right. Even the words can sting, I wouldn't change a thing, 'cause without you everything means nothing. You make me lose my mind like all the time. It still feels right. Oh yeah, still feels right. 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 Oh yeah. We never get it right, but somehow it feels right. We never get it right, but it still feels right. We never get it right, but somehow it feels right.
Right then, first test up is Mr. Donutty, and I was really proud of how he warmed up actually, and he was going really great. But can you see that cross-country step in the corner? He lifted a little bit and just went a little bit tense as we went in, because I think he thought he might get the opportunity to do a bit of cross-country. So I worked to firefight what was going on, but there was a bit of tension creeping in. So we got a 7 for our entry, and this movement was turn left, turn right, and then trot to A, and we got a 6.5 with views back more, and you can just see him occasionally coming back in his neck, and that's where that tension was creeping in. So we then had to do a half 20-metre circle to X in trot, and we got a 7 for that. And then we had a half 20-metre circle left, which we wanted more suppleness through frame, and judge gave us a 6.5. I was really pleased with this canter transition, but we got a 6.5 with the comment of against contact, and then we had to do a circle here, and we got a 7, and I think you can really see the improvement in him. I really felt like he's starting to come on and look like a much more together horse rather than wibbly wobbly Mr. Tickles that he was less than a year ago, that he pretty much was when we started the start of the season. Then we had this park counter move where we had to do our trot transition, and I was over the moon with how he balanced himself through his trot. So we got a 6.5 for that movement with hurried, but I was really pleased with him. And then we repeat all of the trot moves on the other rein, and we got a 6 for our turn right, turn left, and we got a comment of more suppleness through back. I personally think he's working quite well over his back. He's never going to be like a flashy warm blood, but it's everybody's own personal preference, and we know that there is still more work to do. Again, the canter was quite sharp here, but it was off the aids and good, but we did have a bit of a wobble and nearly come out the boards there. So we then were sat on 6.5 as we went through, and had a comment of against the contact. Not massively obvious, but the judges obviously spotted it and wants correct training. There it is. That's where he went against the contract. He was wanting to jump up that step, but then again he held his balance across this diagonal, and I was really proud of him for that. We're also just waiting for him to have his teeth done. He has them done every 6 months because he's got a slight overshoot on his teeth, slightly parrot-mouthed, and every 6 months is enough for him. But I think I will pull it forward and get him done a couple of weeks earlier in future, because I was just noticing that he sometimes tilts his head slightly to one side. I was very pleased with his free walk. I felt like he gave a lot more than last time, and we got a 6 with could be more forwards and drawn nose forward more, but hey ho. And then this move was a bit snazzy, and he didn't try to canter off with me, which was a very good boy. And the halt, we stepped a bit to the side and we got a 6, but I was very proud of him. Good boy, Donny.
That's how I feel about you. You make me lose my mind like all the time. It still feels right. Stuck in an endless fight like every night. It still feels right. Even though we can stay, I wanna change a thing. 'Cause without you, everything means nothing. You make me lose my mind like all the time. It still feels right. Oh yeah, still feels right. 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 Oh yeah.
Now for her time in the dancing ring is Miss Maggie. She warmed up beautifully, and they're really getting good at going out together. As you can see, I was doing her test in sitting trot. I just think she goes so much better in sitting, and she swings a lot better and has a bit more cadence as she goes, which is more suspension, if you don't know what that means. So she was also in a different section from Donny, so had a different judge. So we got a 7.5 for our entry, and I'd say she was very straight. I was very pleased with it. And we got a 7 for our turn left, turn right with could be more fluent. As you can see, she's quite solid in her contact, and I just felt like her whole test was very fluid and just comfortable, sort of almost a bit effortless. So we got a 7.5 for each of our half circles, and we got an 8 for our canter transition, which I think Maggie thoroughly deserved. Her canter transitions out of sitting trot are just lovely, and I don't know why I hadn't started doing sitting trot before now. Probably just a bit of self-consciousness at worrying that my sitting isn't good enough, but I think it will be probably staying for the future with Miss Maggie, because she does go so nicely for it. So literally all of her canter work she got 8s for, and with her trot transition just now she got a comment of happy athlete, which is very kind of the judge. I think there's still areas we could improve. We still could be more uphill, but I mean, for the level of work she's doing, she's very, I rode a very accurate test. I was very proud of myself, and she was just very willing to be my partner and go. And it just shows the years of training, I guess. We've been together 5 years now. Obviously we had a year out last year, but it just shows that the work is paying off, which is wonderful. So our trot work, we got 7.5s and 7s, so you can tell because she's a little not as uphill in the trot work, but we are working on that. And then back up to canter, and we got 8s for everything again, which is lovely because her canter used to be really onward bound and downhill, so it's wonderful to actually be getting those sorts of marks as we go. And this sort of move, only a couple of months ago, I was finding really, really hard, and yet now she's really, really very balanced, which is fantastic. So then we had our medium walk transition, and we got a 7 because she wasn't quite to the contact. She gets a little bit swingy in her head sometimes, and you know, there's areas for improvement, but it's very pleasing that we've got areas for improvement and we're still getting this level of mark. Our final comments I really liked, so I'll read them out as she does her centre line. Evidence of correct training shown. For me, needs more elasticity for the higher marks. So very generous judge, and I felt it was fairly marked, to be honest. I was very, very pleased with Maggie's test, and it's so good to have her back scoring these wonderful scores. On to the show jumping.
Like a light, lighting up in the dark. You make it right, I forgot how to act. It's so classic. Every time you make me nervous and I lose my words. It's been a while since I forgot the most simple words. I feel calm when you're around, like nothing can break me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now I know why it never worked out before. High low, it would always turn out bad, so bad. But every time we start a fight, we always stop in time. We both know how to be gentle, never cross the line. I feel calm when you're around, like nothing can break me. Yeah, yeah.
Okay then, so you've seen both the show jumping rounds. I was honestly over the moon. Obviously Maggie got her clear round, but I was probably even more thrilled about Donut's show jumping round because it was so fantastic, and we literally just had a miscommunication at the last double to have a fence down, but it actually feels like we're going to be getting the clears in soon. And don't they both make that course look tiny? So anyway, out on the cross country, we were playing to the horses' strengths. Maggie went show jumping first to par find the show jumping to give me a hand with Donut, which I think worked. And then likewise, we swapped around because Donut's the stronger cross country horse, and we sent Donut cross country first. So he's just jumped over the third, and now he's on his way to the fourth, where he drops down a little slope, and then you can see him rounding the corner towards the owl hole. And the round at Richmond must have given him so much confidence because he just came out absolutely flying. And I think we're starting to get our act together a little bit with this new style of riding and the shorter stirrups. I've been out cross-country schooling, and yeah, it's finally starting to feel like it's coming together. So you can see him just in the distance out the left side of the screen, and he's popped over the log on the way into the water. So he's heading into the first water complex. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see him exiting. Oh, there he is. He's obviously popped over the fence, and now he's approaching the table. But honestly, by this stage of the course, I had a big smile on my face. He was giving me such a good time. And then I was swinging around to this. This fence was quite funny because I think he just thought he'd done his fence and then he could carry on. But obviously I had a turn after, so quick Donut turn. But he did, he listened, what a good boy. And then a little bit of loose into green, trot and pop, never hurt anybody. And he carried on. Then I had this technical bit, and I didn't know how he'd be coming off the step, but he was very bold. And then I had the curving line, bit of accuracy. And look at that, quick little man, assessed it, popped it, and then galloped away. And I was honestly so thrilled. If you ever get a chance to go to Little Downham, I'd really recommend it, especially as your supporters get to see so much, because obviously, as you can see from where Mum stood, she's still able to capture us now, and then Amy picks us up about here, so there's loads for them to see. For me, it feels like a big event, and they really educate the horses as you go around the course. I'd only been to Little Downham once before with my under 18s horse, so we were working it out. We reckon it's probably like 8 years since I last went there, and that was the first time I'd been. And yeah, the drive's a bit wiggly, but we'd definitely be going back. Now on to Donut. He was cruising around doing this most beautiful round. He's in his last minute. I managed to get him inside that novice fence and then come round to pop these and watch him go. Ready? Straight as a die, 1, 2, easy peasy, what a good boy. And I wasn't in a massive hurry with him. I was letting him par find. I think we were on 39 by the time we'd had a pole down show jumping. So we weren't in a competitive spot, but again, this is all mileage for him. And it's so nice just to be able to go and jump around, and look at that class. Look how easily he jumps all of this. So fantastic. And at that stage, I knew Maggie and I were in the lead. We were leading from the front. We had the best dressage, and I really needed the opportunity to jump him around and get some confidence. So he did exactly that. He came home 3 seconds slow, so just got 1.2 time penalties, and I was absolutely chuffed to bits with him. Couldn't have been happier. And then quick change onto Maggie, and the pressure was on because we were in the lead, but we only had a 2-second hold over the person behind us. So we were allowed 1 penalty, but 3 seconds and would have been 1.2 penalties. So we had to be on the money with the time. So you can see me getting ready to go here. And I'm trotting her around to keep her switched on. At the stage, the starter said 10 seconds to go. I set off my stopwatch. Then I did a trot into the start box and we galloped straight out. Well, we're not quite in a gallop. Swift canter and a great first jump to give her confidence over her first jump. Maggie's not the bravest cross-country horse. She's very careful, very scopy, so I try to look after the best I can, but it's also good to give her a shake-up, and that big long stride was certainly a shake-up for both of us, but yeah, she flew around all the next bits of the course. Because I knew I had to get the time, I was really on her case. If you guys remember, she has actually had some time off in between Eland and here at Little Downham. So Eland was her last event. She actually ended up with a bruised foot, so she's had a bit of a holiday, so she's not as fit as I would like her, but I felt that Little Downham was a fine course to take her to because it's nice and flat. And as you can see, she's still flying. This is halfway around the course on the way to number 11, and she's coming in. She has a little look and then does a tight turn and does really well. Bit of a trot into the water, pops out over that, picks up her canter and adds a stride and is away. And as you can see, I was not hanging around. Maggie was going so well, and we flew off of that drop, bold as brash, had a quick look at the corner, popped over it really neatly, and then we were on our way to Amy Cam, and I was just so chuffed with her. I still feel like she needs to be bold across country. She'll never be a donut, but I do think we could get more fitness into her, more trips up the gallops, I think. But for now, she was responding really, really well, and I know what we need to work on. And it was so useful having Donut to go out as Pathfinder, because I came home and knew that this last minute that I was in there, I had to keep my pedal to the metal if I didn't want to lose time. So here we go. Can we come up the slope really bold? And she flew over this, and I had no hope of turning inside the novice fence, but I don't think we lost too much time here because we were able to keep the ball rolling, keep motoring around. And here she is, straight as the dice. She's having a bit of a look, and I did an extra stride but still jumped it really carefully. And then she was wanting to have a bit of a breather, but I was like, no, Maggie, you got to keep going, sweetheart. So she was like, okay then, Mum. And we probably had about 20 seconds left to get home at this stage, and we still had, five jumps to do. We had this fence, which she absolutely flew over, took another flyer, bless her. And then we had the coffin, which was free jumping efforts. And I was just so, so proud of her digging deep like that. Good girl.
So originally another Starling Deluxe. They started their cross country on H. The girls from 24.5, and they should hold on to first place in the section there.
Woo! Home sweet home, Mr. Man. Good boy. Should we see if Maggie's in there? Woo! Home sweet home, Miss Maxie May. Let's get you guys down. Just turning Donut out and fetching Titan, who's down at the field. That's him. And we'll pop Maggie out, and then I'm going to go home for a cup of tea because it is 5 to 5 and my alarm went off at 5 to 3 this morning. So go home for a cup of tea, and I will debrief you guys later once, don't fall over, sweetheart, once we've had a chance to catch a breath. Okay, good boy. And Maggie's at the top with Amy. Amy is the best. We love you, Amy. She's incredible. She helps our day run like clockwork with the 2 horses. And it's been a busy, hard day today, but it's been so worthwhile. Good baby. Oh, I'm back. It is raining and dark outside. We've started the vlog in the dark. We're finishing the vlog in the dark. I'm just sorting the horse lorry out. Got the horses to feed and put to bed. I'll fetch Maggie and Titan in and can check on Donut and the likes in the shelter, because at least we've got lights there. what a fantastic day. I'm so stoked, and that's not a word I use very often, but I think that's it. I'm so proud of both the horses. They've done wonderfully. They tried their absolute hearts out for me. Donut's jumping rounds were just, I was so proud of them. Maggie's, it sounds really stupid because we won. I don't know if I said that yet. We won. So yeah, she led from start to finish. Best dressage in the section. I think Mum said best dressage of all the BE100s, but like different judges mark differently. But even so, best dressage of all the section, despite there being quite a lot of professionals up there in the top 5. And we just led start to finish, finished on our dressage score and won. So over the moon. But I'm about to be picky because I think our jumping phases could have been better and I've got work to do. So, but at least she did it. She dug deep, she gave it her all. I know exactly what work we want to do. I know what work we need to do in the dressage for Donny, and he's jumping such an improvement on Richmond, which was our last event. So, I don't know. So happy. Anyway, I'm going to crack on because it's very late in the evening, as you can tell by the darkness. I want to get these horses to put to bed and I want to go and have some dinner because I'm very, very hungry. Anyway, thanks so much for watching and hopefully I will see you next time. Bye.